My pods are perfect. I'm going to leave a positive review. Very snug for the passengers. No complaints or anything. Oh, that one popped off the wall. This is bad.
Enslaved Odyssey to the West is a 2010 masterpiece by Ninja Theory. It stars two characters of opposing disposition, and it takes inspiration from the Chinese classic novel called Journey to the West. There's a very popular TV show called Monkey that was based on that Chinese novel. It's without a doubt one of my favourite TV shows. The TV show stars a character who's irrepressible in nature and he's the punkiest monkey of all time. But he's not really a bad person, he just can't control himself too well and he gets up to no good. I once made the greatest video about that show of all time, so go check it out. Enslaved is essentially like taking the TV show and making it Uncharted in one. I had watched the TV show Monkey before playing the game, but I never knew of the connection. In my mind, all the characters were original, but now I know the connection, I love this game even more. I can't ignore the somewhat apparent connection to Horizon Zero Dawn, the tech-savvy, resourceful redhead protagonist in a deadly mech-dominant, futuristic, post-apocalyptic world. The Chinese mythology of Journey to the West has been adapted into many video games. One that I've been excited to see how it goes is Black Myth Wukong. It looks like a Dark Souls style of game. There's many games based on Journey to the West going back to the 80s. Sun made by Capcom seems to be the first. The gameplay in Enslaved Odyssey to the West is a puzzle platformer mainly. Climbing is something you'll do a lot, but for the most part it's pretty easy. It's not as comprehensive as Uncharted is. If I was to compare this to any of the Uncharteds, it would be the very first one. By the time the second and third one came along, it was very, very polished. Here it feels almost like you've got an invisible rail guiding you, like you're a puppet on a string. You haven't got much control. You'll be guided on which way to climb with flashing pipes and ledges. Things that you need to grab onto are calling you like a succubus, like a siren in the water. Come here, grab me! How do I know you're not going to let me fall to my death? Don't worry, you're safe in this game. It's almost like it's a predetermined adventure. You don't have to worry. There are a few puzzle elements in the game that sort of halt the pace, but not really in a bad way. It fits the narrative and the world. One that happens about midway through the game is you have to do a bunch of drawbridges up and down, but this is explained in the world, and it sort of makes sense. I can see what they were trying to go for. It only takes about 2 minutes to solve, so it's not the worst case scenario. But this is more or less as complicated as it gets. In the world, they say this is to outsmart the machines. Machines can't solve a puzzle like this. Have you ever heard of a brute force attack? They don't care when it comes to solving a puzzle. Captures are harder for humans than it is robots.
These bridges are impossible. They don't make any sense. But all I have to do is watch a guide on a video streaming site and I'll find the solution.
The other big part of this game is the combat. Monkey is an excellent fighter. Just like in the TV show, he's a wonderful fighter. He might not look like it at face value in the show, but he is. Here in this game, he's extremely athletic when climbing around. And here on the battlefield, he is a beast. He is fighting 10 foot tall, 500 pounds of solid metal mech warriors, so what do you expect? And that's just the average opponent. Combat is very basic and you'll be doing a lot of button bashing, but it doesn't get boring. The character Monkey is always satisfying to look at when he's on screen, especially during his fight sequences. Sometimes at the end of a fight, it will do a close-up slow motion zoom and you'll get to see Monkey's aggressive animal instincts kicking in. This is clearly his strongest point, destroying things. This all plays into his nature.
He's very monkey see, monkey get it done.
There's two attacks you can do.
One is the regular attack,
and the other is the strong attack. I found myself using the same combo over and over again because I knew how much it would take to defeat an enemy. I hit 4 times with the medium attack, then 2 with the heavy. I didn't notice any combos or chaining of attacks, but it really didn't matter to me much. I'm not really the biggest fan of beat 'em ups and hack and slashes, so this element in games, even if I had all of these combos, I wouldn't be using them. I would just be using the most dominant strategy I can at any given time. You know me, I like being overpowered, and I like winning as quick as possible. After you defeat an enemy, you'll get these orbs called tech orbs. They can be used to upgrade your shield, health, combat moves, and your staff. The staff isn't just used as a melee attack, but it also has plasma and stun projectile shots. You have a shield that activates automatically when enemies are shooting at you, but you can also activate it yourself during battle. It's limited how long it can go for. You can use the skill tree you have to upgrade your character. Most of these are just offering enhancements to your health and shield. the amount of damage the projectiles do, as well as the capacity you have with your shots and the rate of fire. The combat part of the skill tree gives you additional moves. You can get a counter, a fury attack, and upgrades to your moves. When it comes to combat games like this, I'm not the greatest at parrying and using a shield. I'm a sort of person that likes to hit the enemy as much as I can and step back to move from their attacks. The game doesn't have the conventional lock-on that I noticed anyway. It's one of those subtle lock-ons you get in games. You don't really fight many enemies at once. The most they'll throw at you is 3, I think maybe 4 at times, and combat is fairly easy. A lock-on would maybe ruin the flow of battle. Monkey can perform takedowns to defeat some enemies and hijack them. There may be an area where there's a turret and you have to do a takedown on it to take control of it. Or some enemies have faulty components and you do a takedown on them, then you can use their abilities on the rest that are left in the fight. If you're fighting 3 enemies and you see that one has the faulty component, you go after that one, then perform the takedown and throw it into the others. It might be a self-destruct one, it might have a Gatling gun on its arm, or it could be the stun one.
I don't make any flawed mechs, they're all perfect creations. Come on, just whack him up, it's just one guy, don't let him defeat you all. Oh, come, you please, explode on him, explode. No, he's got you. No, don't do it. Come on, Silver Cypher, fight back. No, you useless mechs, all of you deserve this.
You've also got Monkey's traditional cloud. Monkey's there just saying, it works in some areas and some it don't. And Trip's going, oh, like some electronic magnetic thing. And he goes, yeah, it works in some areas. Some...
How does it work?
Dunno. All I know is it works some places and not in others.
It must be able to resonate with static EM fields of high enough concentration.
As I say, works some places and not in others.
Yeah. So can I get on it?
Sorry. Only room for one.
This turns the game into Tony Hawk, but it's a different animal. It's Tony Monkey. It's not really a game that has many stealth sections or shootouts, but it can be like a third-person shooter at times. Your staff can shoot really far, and there's a few times where you will have to hide behind an object. You'll automatically crouch when you go near cover. I like that when you are covering, some of the walls you hide behind break apart. So that shows you don't hide for too long, get into the battle. The game is saying this isn't the only strategy in battle. Both of you are smart and resourceful. Figure it out. I really like the aesthetic to this game. It's a futuristic post-apocalyptic game. There's a lot of buildings overrun by nature. So the majority of the time you'll see rust or foliage or a combination of the two. What's left of the past has been destroyed by the mechs. There's many areas where there's mammoth mechs mutilated by Mother Nature. It's not just humanity that are holding on by a thread, but the mechs of the future seem to be battling against the past, and time is not very friendly to them. The obvious elephant in the room, or should I say monkey in the tree, is the graphics issues. I'm not sure if this was an only on Xbox exclusive thing, or it's also on PS3 and Windows, but as always with these old games, it doesn't bother me, because it doesn't break the game. That said, I was thinking if this was on Metro happening like this, then it might have ruined the experience, because that game is all about immersion, and if you're constantly distracted by textures not loading in right, you might just consider that game breaking. Visually, the game is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's one of the best looking games, but it does have a lot of things that look great. I really like the attention to detail in terms of landscapes too. You won't just see the same sort of backgrounds. When you can see a background, it's something that grabs your attention. You might see a building that's been half destroyed to rubble, and you have to traverse through it. When you're out in the open, you can see the sea or the mountains. Other times, it's just fields of mechs that weren't designed to survive these conditions. Or maybe there was just no humans left to service them. There's always interesting things to see and speculate about. The game isn't just visually interesting, but the sound is interesting too. The title screen starts off with this powerful score. It was making me feel a lot of sympathy, and it was bordering on pain. It was clearly composed very well, but it also sounds really simple. You hear some atmospheric instruments with a singer. They harmonize and blend so well together, but occasionally overpower each other when it suits them. It's a beautiful blend. It's almost like the OST is saying, I don't know where we're going, but do you want to come with me willfully? I mean, you've got no choice, but it's please come with me willfully, you've got no choice. It's a geniusly designed OST. because it complements the journey in the game really well, and to my knowledge the inspiration they took from the novel. I can only tell that from the TV show that I've seen. It's a consistently great soundtrack throughout. In the few moments it needs to be whimsical, it will be just that, but for the most parts it's intense and high tempo. There's a lot of percussion used and it sounds like they use scrap metal to make the music. It's almost like it's a mechanical orchestra at times. The voice acting is outstanding. It's Andy Serkis, and he's a well-known actor with so much talent. Monkey feels like a character who's from many different cultures, and his accent shows this, as well as the fact he looks like a battle-hardened soldier with many scars to prove it, and what looks like different types of tribal branding on his body. The voice acting is top tier. A mediocre voice actor couldn't have done this. It would have to be someone at the top of their game who would be able to bring Monkey to life. Whenever Monkey's on screen, you'll find yourself captivated looking at him. The development of the game is unique because Andy Serkis was involved from the start. Ninja Theory had worked with him before and they had a personal relationship together, and they knew that he was the perfect guy to give life to a character. It's a post-apocalyptic world, but there is a lot of colour to it, and Andy Serkis' performance complements this. He done the motion capture for Monkey, but he was adamant on the performance. He didn't want to just be a reference. This was the first game he got to work on to this caliber, and he gave his all. He wanted to bring the art form forward. He said during an interview that people in the movie industry thought that motion capture would begin to replace actors and animators, but he wanted to assure people that's not true. And he also said that people wouldn't take video game actors very seriously, and he's glad that games like Enslaved would begin to change this opinion. Andy Serkis was also involved in the design of the character, the story too. The team fully understood their value to having Andy Serkis, and you can tell that he wasn't just slapped on at the end. He is an essential ingredient to the recipe that made this game.
The performance capture with Andy Serkis is always a really great experience.
Andy co-directed the performance capture, and I think Andy is undoubtedly one of the best character actors we have in the UK, or anywhere.
He has a very particular way of warming everyone up.
One of Andy's key skills is being able to actually make them relax and understand how it's not that different to a film production.
The first morning when we got together, he said, right, everyone outside into the large area. And we ended up kind of running around for quite a few minutes playing tag, going under people's legs to free us up, and he's sprinting. And
with 20 adults running around trying to do this all at once, it's very hectic and the energy is just there.
There are many other well-known voice actors within video games, and it would be nice to see more of them get included from the beginning of the development like this. It would drastically help connect the player to the world in a much stronger way. Monkey isn't the only character who is perfectly crafted. There's another character you meet late in the game, and he also brings a world-class performance. Seeing them on screen together and talking is one of my favourite moments in gaming. The story to the game is extremely captivating. It takes inspiration from Journey to the West, but has a different interpretation on it. In the TV show, Monkey is hot-headed at times, but extremely playful. Enslaved, Monkey is volatile and aggressive. He's no nonsense. He doesn't mess around, and when he can't get an answer, his muscles do the talking. Something I thought about while playing this game is, I wouldn't be surprised if The Last of Us was inspired by Journey to the West. The Last of Us is a game about two unlikely people on an unlikely journey where the two people of opposing disposition bond because of the crazy things they have to go through and the hole that they fill in each other's life.
Ellie, come on. Go.
Chapter 1: The Escape. We see a mechanical area and a bunch of pods on the walls. The camera slowly pans to one of them and we see a screen of a guy. He's looking up at the camera. This character, we later find out his name is Monkey. He's hitting the door with his shoulders, so he's not got much space to move, and he's clearly a prisoner against his will. He can see through his window and he can see a girl escape and run over to a computer that starts saying warning, warning. Everything begins to explode and he's like looking at the camera saying, guys, seriously, I don't know what I ain't involved. All of while this happening, we're getting a voiceover. It says, welcome to slave ship 909. That goes to show there's a lot of slave ships. They're on the way to Pyramid. There's another 16 hours until they arrive at Pyramid. If you need to go to the toilet, just take a dump on the floor. Don't worry about your living conditions. The place where you are is your toilet and bed. The computer says, at Pyramid, a new life awaits, free from hazards of the wild. That's good because the breath of the wild was really stinky. Clearly, Mother Nature needed to brush her teeth. It says compliance will be rewarded with safety and sustenance. Non-compliance will be rewarded with pain. That's a very weird way to word that. It's very manipulative. Rewarded with pain. Normally it would say disobedience will be punished. but they're clearly trying to brainwash these characters, as you can see from the wording. They're on a slave ship. They didn't need to say any more than that. This is bad.
Dear prisoners, passengers on board passion ship. If you behave well, you will be allowed to have a little bit of fresh air. But disobey me, I will sell your organs. Everything is good. Be happy. You're safe now.
But it's really easy to ignore this voiceover, and you can see that Monkey isn't really paying full attention. He's focused on the girl. During the explosion caused by that girl, Monkey's pod breaks off the wall and he can escape. He's a bit cautious to get out and looks around, but he also knows something we don't know. I'm not talking about the environment, I'm talking about within himself. He knows he's the greatest warrior in the world. The game begins and you're playing on this exploding ship. You see a few people in the distance and you think, what's about to happen? Are they going to fight or shoot you? You don't really know. Every time you get close to one of them, something bad happens to them. Maybe Monkey's got telekinesis and he hasn't told the player. One of these guys says the prisoner is loose and the computer says affirmative, slave 949. We get a few more answers there. What's happening? All these guards on the ship are slaves too, and the computer hears everything they say. The ship says the combat mechs are activating, and you're thinking, whoa, give me some of those guys to fight. I want to fight those R2-D2 looking guys. You go through a few rooms, and each room has different levels of obstacles you have to overcome. A few balance beams to walk along, a few pipes to hop across, platforms and other scripted explosions. But it's all really exhilarating, and eventually the back of the plane snaps off and you go flying out the back. You hear a guy do a Wilhelm scream and you're thinking, oh no, I am next. But he grabs on like Uncharted for his dear life. And this is where you get forced into the climbing segments. As I described earlier, they're very simple. A lot of the times it's just mash A in the direction of the flashing thing. After climbing to safety, you get the first encounter with a combat mech. These are the ones that the ship was activating earlier. Monkey realizes he can't fight this thing, he needs his weapons. He finds one of the ship's slaves and interrogates him for his gear. The computer overhears this conversation and punishes him with death. And Monkey's like, oh my god, he died in front of me by words. He tells him where his gear is and he goes and gets it. It's right next to him, just down the pipe, along the corridor. Monkey sees his bike on this ship as well, but he only reaches his gear. And you gotta see this line where he says, where's my gear? This is one of my favorite lines in the whole game.
Where's my stuff?
What?
The stuff. Where's my gear? The stuff you took away from me.
I can't talk to you, it's against the rules.
Very disappointed in this one. I thought Mark would be different. Grade F.
Now with his shield, he can run up to the combat mech. Any bullets fired at him will be automatically blocked for a short period of time. He then has to fight other combat mechs, but these are not shooting ones, these are regular fighting ones. After that battle, he sees the girl from before. He pleads with her to open the door. She's startled by the sight of him, but she keeps going. He climbs on the outside of the ship and finds a different route. And you get to really see the scale of this game while you're doing this climbing segment. You're climbing across a ship and fighting enemies, there's fire going off. Parts of the ship are breaking apart. You'll be grabbing onto it while it's happening. At one part, you'll fly past the Statue of Liberty and the wing crashes into it. This whole time through the sequence, the voiceover is saying 7 pods remaining, 6 pods remaining. It's slowly giving a countdown and you're thinking every time you hear one of those numbers go down, your chance of survival is diminishing.
Hey, nobody touch my pod. That one's special. And don't look under the seat. There's nothing questionable there.
Monkey sees a door and he tries to open it. When he pulls it open, it flies off and breaks the engine on the wing. This causes the ship to tip to the side. And he now has to climb up the wing. It's so cool because in the distance you can see a building and you know eventually you're going to crash into this building. He quickly climbs up and just by the skin of his teeth makes it. The wing crashes into the building. You get a slow motion part. Monkey's thinking, oh, we barely made it. After climbing up a bit further, the ship will say 20 seconds until impact. You see a few pipes to climb up, then you see the final escape pod. When you climb on top of it, never guess who's there. That one girl from before who hacked the computer and destroyed it. That one girl from before who locked the doors in front of you so you can't get through. And now she's here stealing the final pod. Monkey's screaming, please let me in. Please, I'm going to die out here. She looks at the eject button. No, he says, no, please. No, please. And she presses the button. She don't care about Monkey. She don't give a monkeys about Monkey. During that first chapter, a lot of interesting stuff gets said by the computer. The computer will say things like, fire in engine sector 6, containment measures failed, A-grade slaves report to escape pods, slaves rated B and below await further commands. It's very hard to hear the lines the computer says because you're in a rush trying to get out and so captivated by all the excitement going on. Obviously, like Monkey, you're focused on the most important words, like escape pod, activating mechs that you have to fight. You don't really think about all the other lines that are said. But these characters were clearly being taken into slavery against their will. And even the guards were slaves, who were extremely disposable, only referenced by a number. After she ejects the escape pod, Monkey's flying along the top with her. They eventually crash land in an abandoned city. Monkey's knocked out.
God damn you both to hell! You ghost rid my ship into a ghost town!
Chapter 2, The Old City. Monkey wakes up on a bunch of rubble and he sees the girl from before. She's sitting there like a small child with her arms across her knees. Monkey looks at her aggressively like he wants to harm her. She then informs him that she put a slave headband on him. He then tells her, "Take this off now. I did not sign up for this when I went on a nice cruise across the country on that very accommodating plane. I had a toilet and a bed."
See, it was a very comfortable pod. Nobody complained. Everyone was rewarded for compliance. Some people even got fresh air. This guy Wilhelm, he flew out the back of the ship.
She refuses to take the headband off and informs him.
I hacked a slave headband, so it could be activated by my voice commands. Activation triggers a systemic pain response. It's what controls the slaves.
I'm gonna kill you.
You can't. If my heart stops beating, for any reason, the headband will discharge a lethal dose. If I die, you die.
Oh.
If I die, you die. It's such a powerful scene. She tells him the headband is hacked so she controls it. It's pretty sad that they both go from being kidnapped and put into slavery to her making him a slave.
Even by my standards, that's cold-hearted. Hey, slave B21004182 89811. This woman rescued this man just to kidnap him herself. That is low. Now go bring them both back to me.
You know he never would have agreed to helping her, but she's desperate and needs help getting back home. It's hundreds of miles. She would not survive in these conditions. This world is not designed for someone like her. Well, at least she gives us that idea. She's clearly very tech savvy and smart and has the acumen to escape the situation like that, which probably no one has done before. She had to use the technology of her captors to capture someone else. It's one of those situations where it's hard to really gauge how you feel. He has no choice but to go along with this. You do a few puzzles together, but you get into a situation where you have to fight an enemy. He asks for her help in a situation and she refuses because she's scared.
Get out! Give you the signal. You get back, okay?
No, I
Hey.
can't.
Do as I say. I gotta find a way to take him out.
Come on, you stupid net. Put your hands up. Activate defense. Activate kill monkey. Activate. Come on, you useless piece of junk. I'm done.
If we're gonna get through this, then when I ask you to do something, you need to do it immediately.
Okay. I understand.
She sees exactly how talented Monkey is with fighting and has no choice but to respect his abilities. She learns to trust in his physical abilities and she allows him to have command over her. The girl has a few abilities that you can use. She's got technology from her people where she can make things like a decoy, and at later parts in the game you can do upgrades and even health regeneration on Monkey. And the other command is just a simple go ahead or follow me. She learns to work with him on his terms and he learns with hers. It's a powerful chapter. They learn to work together not just because they have to, but because they want to. But you can see on her side it's a different level. Monkey is extremely hot-headed, so even when he's just having a normal conversation and speaking, it seems like he's being aggressive or over the top. But that's just who he is. And she doesn't really seem that scared of him. Not just because the fact that if her heartbeat stops, he dies too. I just don't think that side of his nature intimidates her.
He does know the power that these headbands have because he has seen firsthand what happens if you disobey the master.
She makes the crown give him a headache to make him learn his lesson, so he understands it.
Outside of this cutscene where she puts the headband on and shows that she can harm him, I don't recall her ever needing to do it. You can trigger it in gameplay if you stray too far. Command crush Monkey's brain! Command crush Monkey's pea brain! How does this thing... This is why you shouldn't shop from Amazon third party. Junk equipment.
They get to a part where they can't cross because it's covered in mines. Monkey can tell this from the way the mechs look. She realizes she can discover where the mines are if Monkey gets her a dragonfly. She asks him politely, it's not a command.
No, don't touch my dragonfly cameras. I need them to follow you animals. This is evidence for your grades. You are dropping to a C for these actions.
You can see that was a slight turning point where they begin to build some sort of friendship. It's not fully copacetic just yet. She is still a captor after all. The game even tells you that early on. It says, press the LB button to look at your captor. Remember that. That person has imprisoned you. Or you could say she has enslaved you. Watch your back on her because she might get a sledgehammer out like Kathy Bates up in here. If this turns into Enslaved Misery of the West, I wouldn't be surprised. He sees her hack this dragonfly thing, and it's hard to know what some of these looks are. I don't know if it's the game trying to inject some sort of thing, or these gentle moments that are happening are something that's new to him and he's trying to understand it too. Maybe all he's used to is being around rough people who are competent and capable of looking after themselves. Being forced to babysit someone is uncharted territory for him. He's a loner and likes to get things done on his own. It's hard enough surviving on your own, but now you're forced to survive with someone attached to you like a toilet paper tail. He has to fight enemies on a minefield and is extremely exhausted by the battle. At the end of the fight, she says, I can download the schematics from these mechs and it will help you in battle. She says to him, it will make life easier for you, and he snaps back saying, you want to make my life easy? Get this crown off my head!
It'll make life a lot easier for you.
If you want to make life easier for me, why don't you go ahead and take this thing off?
Hold up a monkey escaping minute. Are you telling me people don't like to be against their will, taken from their home and be forced to be part of a pyramid scheme? That's news to me. I thought people enjoyed the reward of not being punished. And that is my essential human right, to punish people.
It's small moments like that where you're snapped back into reality and reminded that he's a captor at all times. He's doing this against his will. But then after she asks him, considering we've got a long journey to the west, we might as well exchange names. He tells her the tribes he would associate with didn't really call him anything but monkey. And she says, oh, what a coincidence. I like to go wandering all the time. My people called me Trip. I'm guessing that's down to his clownish personality. He's always joking and being silly. He's up to monkey business. Or it's likely because his physical abilities and how he resembles a monkey regarding his athleticism. And I also think Monkey embraced his name a bit. He does have a belt that dangles off the back like a tail, but it's off center and it adds style to his character. Physically, he is a brute with bulky shoulders and back muscles, and he's as strong as a titan. He will do extremely impressive things with his power. His hands are gigantic. He doesn't even wear shoes, he just goes around with his bare feet.
1-star feet, overall graded D. You're just losing points out here.
By the end of chapter 2, I had a few questions about this game. How on earth did Monkey and Trip get caught? How did Trip escape? If grade A slaves only get saved on pods, what grade are Trip and Monkey? I'm not sure how Monkey and Trip were caught, but you can sort of get the idea. The world is extremely dangerous. They can be overpowered by mechs at any moment. How Trip escaped? She's extremely tech savvy. She can even rewire a headband to make her have command over it. I'm not exactly sure what the grades would be. If we were grading these two in our society, they'd be grade A for many different reasons. But I imagine they grade them on compliance. These two are not going to be compliant at all. And I don't think the backstory matters that much. What they were doing to get caught is irrelevant. The enslaved meaning changed the second she applied the headband. The game could have started there and it would have been interesting, but knowing the situation they escaped from, it makes it much more heartbreaking. At the end of chapter 2, Trip and Monkey are going through a building that's destroyed, and in the main hallway part of it they see a fish tank. Trip is fascinated by these fish, saying it's beautiful to see them still alive, because they're in a self-contained tank that needs to be maintained. It's marvellous that these fish have survived with no maintenance, only surviving because of the ecosystem that is within inside.
My father designed our community to work in exactly the same way so that we'd never have to leave the outer compound walls.
Well, I've seen it all before. Scattered tribes coming together under one visionary leader. It's never long before they attract the attention of the slavers.
If these fish can survive for 200 years against all the odds, so can we.
This is boring. Quickly smash them while they're distracted. Haha, yes, pummel them. Turn them into paste. That's a good idea. We can sell that paste.
This beautiful moment is destroyed by a boss. This thing has wrecking balls for hands and feet. Here you learn a new strategy Monkey has, which is yelling in a fight. He shouts, "Hey!" like that, and gets the attention of the enemy, then it crashes into a statue a few times and a boulder drops on it. This taunt really fits Monkey well because it's obnoxious. He doesn't mean to be a showboat character, he just happens to be this way because he's extremely talented. After the fight, Trip mourns the fish because they've been untouched for centuries. Trip made a comparison about this fish tank being like her home because they survive in a way that means they don't have to leave. Everything they need is inside, self-sustained.
Ah, foiled again. I'll get you both next time. Why are all my mechs so rubbish? I put so much hard work into making good quality mechs. Man, need to put some WD-40 in some of these things.
Chapter 3, The Metal Tower. They're getting closer to the site where the ship crashed because that's where Monkey's bike is. They need to get to the crane that's really far away because there's a crevasse that's preventing them from crossing. They plan to make a bridge to get to the other side. Monkey keeps having these hallucinations and he doesn't quite understand them. They both put it down to the headband causing them. They're probably excruciating for Monkey, but he just gets on with it and goes along with the mission. This chapter involves Trip a lot more than the previous ones. You need to use her abilities a lot more to get through. Chapter 4, Wherefore Art Thou? The previous mission had you throwing Trip a few times to get across big gaps, but that's not a possibility here. Monkey decides that it's best to leave Trip hidden so he can focus on this objective alone.
Wait here.
You're leaving me alone here? How do I know you're coming back?
You die, I die, right?
Yeah.
So I'm coming back.
Now you don't have Trip to aid you, you realise how useful she can be. Without her decoy having to fight against mechs with bullets, it becomes a bit of a challenge. The staff projectiles have to be used.
Now he's distracted and left her behind. Send in the big dogs. I'm not Mr. Burns, I mean the big dog. We have the man-eating mech. Quickly, don't mess around, we don't have much time.
After you make it to the top of the crane and make a path to get across, you hear Trip and she's breathing in a scared manner.
I thought I told you to stay put.
Monkey looks down and you can see her scurrying away.
Hey, Trip, can you hear me? Monkey, help. What's going on?
Confused but also alert about what's going on.
I was just looking around and...
Whoa. Just calm down and tell me exactly what happened. Don't bother, just say.
We don't get to see what's going on, but we know it's something extremely scary and big.
It's a dog. You can't fight it, just keep still.
He tells her, have you seen Jurassic Park? Do what they done, stay still and don't make a sound, he's gonna get you!
Okay, I'm coming to get you.
Monkey uses his new ability of screaming.
Hey!
Very effective. The mechanical beast tries to use Monkey's bridge he just built from girders and pipes and it falls down to its death like a cartoon character.
Oh, Monkey!
Trip!
Oh, Monkey was horrible!
Come on!
Oh, I'm so horrible.
I'm joking, after Monkey gets to the bottom, he climbs up and eats them both whole.
It's right there, it's coming!
You get a chase sequence here and this is so good. Trip jumps on Monkey's back.
Closer, Monkey is getting closer! Monkey, faster!
The dog is chasing him in the distance. Explosions are going off and it's stumbling. He chases them into an abandoned hall. Trip jumps back on Monkey's back.
Throw me up there! Quick!
He throws her up to the next level, then follows up behind her. They think they might have lost the dog. Trip gets distracted by something while they're walking through. She calls it a power cell and looks up bewildered like she sees the magical giant diamond that's fallen from the heavens. He's like, what are you doing? No, you just had a near-death experience. Do you want an actual death experience? If you can't remember, my life is in your hands. No. So obviously they have to go get it because she wants it. And it must be important for her to want to risk their lives. Monkey also gets distracted by one of those glitches that causes the hallucinations. and he goes to check it out. After doing that, the mechanical dog bursts through. They realise the only way out of this is to destroy it. Using the stage platforms, they find a way to make it drop on top of it, and while it's trapped, they download its schematics.
How are they defeating all of my beautiful creations? This beast is supposed to be immortal.
Trip doesn't really want to do it, but Monkey tells her to trust him and looks heavily into her eyes, and she says, "Wow! I don't know why, but I trust this guy with my life. Now you know how it feels, Trip. Now you know how it feels." She puts her life in his hand again because she really does trust his physical abilities. She knows he's capable of doing this. Monkey don't think with his head. He thinks with another part of his body. His muscles.
Okay. Let's go.
Chapter 5, The Crash Site. Monkey has this device which he calls a cloud. It allows him to travel really fast and even across water. He pushes objects down and helps Trip get across, where they eventually climb a bridge. The bridge is not sturdy at all falling apart around them, and Trip has to be carried the final parts of the way. It's extremely tense and exciting because you realise the game hasn't put you under pressure like this before until now. The bridge is one of my favourite parts of this whole game because of the way it looks. This bridge puts into perspective how destroyed everything is. It's hanging on by threads in some points. You can see one beat down city on one side, and on the other side is the same thing. You just escaped one post-apocalyptic city and you're making your way to another, but you feel like you're halfway through your journey. To cross the rest of the bridge, Trip sees a vehicle when she realises she can use that power cell from before to power it. She gets inside of it and turns it on, and it just starts going without you. You have to find cover behind this moving vehicle, and it's a lot of fun. You don't know if Trip has any driving experience, doesn't seem like it, but the bridge starts falling apart while she's driving, and Monkey has to chase behind her, then eventually jumps on top of the roof, and guess what? This is just like the intro again. Trip, stop doing this to him! They crash land with him on top, and he gets knocked out once again. But they crash in the crash site. This is some genius writing.
Trying to keep you safe is hard enough, but if you're gonna go out of your way to kill us both...
Monkey! Calm down, look! Where we are! The crash site! This is where the slave ship crashed! We made it!
But you made quite a lot of noise, and the dog appears up from behind you like a wild Pokemon. No, please, let me find my bike and go. You have to battle this Microsoft monster, and I realized something. If you stun this guy, you could just get 3 hits on him. No problem. The plasma blast just destroys this fool. It's a pretty underwhelming fight, but sometimes it's about the journey and not the destination.
A design flaw? What in tarnation? Who would have thought my mechs would be weak to electricity?
After this fight, there were pretty wholesome scene plays. Trip compliments his skills and questions, has anyone ever done that before? Monkey doesn't believe so, but it was the power of teamwork. Just watch this scene and look how happy her face is at the end.
That was incredible! Has anyone ever killed one of these before?
Not that I know of.
Oh, you did it!
Yeah. The truth is, we did it.
It then shows Monkey flying in on his bike, and Trip is impressed. Again? Trip, will you please pull your tongue in? You're embarrassing yourself. You're acting like you're the one with the headband on your head. No one's told you to rest your jaw on the floor. You can see while they're riding on the bike together that his face is focused and determined on the objective, and she seems to be confused by how she's feeling. Chapter 6, Village Approach. They stop to make a campfire and have a discussion about what the plan is after. Trip naively invites Monkey to live with her people. He doesn't say anything, just sternly looks at her. She sort of rolls back her invitation a little bit, after realizing what she said and who to. The story is beginning to remind me of Beauty and the Beast in a way. She is the one who has him imprisoned, unlike the cartoon, it's the other way around, with slightly different circumstances. But it's a love story where someone is using someone else against their will for a, quote, selfish end result. But it's a goal that is completely understandable. The love aspect of it might be more along the lines of family and friendship over partnership. For me, it's hard to distinguish exactly where it's heading, but the similarities in all these stories is evident. They arrive back at Trip's village and realise no one's around to invite them in. Trip and Monkey have to find their own way in doing a few puzzles. They make their way to one of the posts and Trip ignores obvious signs that there's been a struggle. Monkey clearly sees something's wrong and tries to console her. Trip gets upset and runs off. She doesn't realise she's running into danger. Monkey has to fight his way into the village to catch up with her. Chapter 7. Finding Trip. Every time he catches up with Trip, she's just a step ahead, running off upset. This part resembles the first chapter where he was just one step behind her. She's always just out of arm's reach. He eventually catches up with her at her home.
This was my home. The slavers came back, destroyed everything. Just like you said.
Well, I've seen it all before. Scattered tribes coming together under one visionary leader. It's never long before they attract the attention of the slavers, which obviously has already happened.
It was just one slave ship. Only caught a handful of us.
Think more won't follow?
If these fish can survive for 200 years against all the odds, so can we.
Is there somewhere survivors could have retreated to?
There are not gonna be any survivors.
We don't know that.
The war room, maybe.
Okay. Okay. Show me.
Chapter 8. Gaining Access. They make their way to the bunker they spoke about before. Trip says it can only be locked from the inside, so they believe they're survivors. To open the doors to the bunker, they have to cause a power surge. Trip says they need to use the windmill to do this. The windmill sails are up, so Monkey has to climb to the top and pull down each of them. Monkey commands Trip to turn the windmill on and off as he climbs to the top of them to pull down the sails. At the top of the sails, you get to see how beautiful this map is. This is the best looking location in this whole game. As Trip said before, her people are very self-sufficient. They've taken very good care of their place, and it shows. The environment looks really natural. The sky has no pollution whatsoever. It's as blue as an ocean. After turning off the electricity, they can now get through the electrical gate, and a bunch of combat mechs come bursting through the door like a horde of hungry zombies. And when you get back to the bunker just before you open the door, another one of those beasts come bursting out. But this time Monkey's way stronger. There's a lot of opportunities to upgrade, and I had the Fury attack. This dog didn't stand a chance. After opening the bunker doors, Trip realizes that nobody survived. Her dad is in a chair and a tape is playing of his final words. It's a message directly to her. Monkey presses the red button to stop it. Trip realizes she wants to get revenge on whoever done this. She tells Monkey she knows she made a promise to him that when they get back to her town, he will be free from the headband, and she says this.
I said, get me home. I'll set you free. I guess I lied. The slavers come from the west, so that's where we're going. I want to find out who did this.
Monkey doesn't say anything because he gets it.
And then I'm gonna kill him.
This is no longer the same captor who left him on the ship to die. This is Trip, his friend, and somebody he's got a special bond with.
Andy, she's coming for you. You better lock your door. No, seriously, I've got the VHS to prove it. She's just said it just now. My Dragonfly cameras have been following them for months. I know all their patterns and routines. These are weird people.
Chapter 9. The Wasteland. During the drive in the opening cutscene of the chapter, Trip questions why Monkey hasn't said anything. He understands her reasons. They're making their way to the old factory where they used to build big mechs. Trip's here to meet someone who is a friend of her dad. This area is very perilous. They have to be careful here.
Is actually daunting me. Look at this guy. Kill monkey. Command. Kill monkey. Command, crush head! What is the command?
The water is poisonous from the mech fuel. It makes you think, who on earth is this person they're coming to see, for him to want to stay here? You see a lot of references to hogs and pigs around. They find a boat that helps them travel across the water, but eventually Monkey has to jump out to move an obstruction. After he moves the boards, a dog comes bursting out of the wall. It chases after Trip. He goes chasing behind them both. Trip's voice actor here does an incredible performance. It gets you so engrossed in the chase. You feel scared that she's going to get hurt. Every word that she's saying makes you try harder to want to save her.
Hurry, Monkey! Do it now! It's nearly on me! Hurry!
You eventually catch up with the dog, and Monkey uses the skills that he's learnt before to destroy it in one hit. While you're picking Trip up, you see a guy in the background. This is the guy in Resident Evil 2 who owned the gun shop at the beginning. Listen!
Now when I give the say-so, you're gonna turn very slow. Any tricks, I'm gonna light you up. Now turn. Trip, is that you?
Pigsy!
This guy knows Trip.
Pigsy!
She knows him too and calls him Pigsy.
Are you here alone with
They hug each other like old friends.
Where's your father?
Pigsy asks about her dad, but she doesn't say anything, and he gets the idea. He looks extremely sad by this news, so they must have been important friends to each other. Chapter 10, The Titan Factory. They both go back to Pigsy's home with him, where Trip tells them the objective. Pigsy says he'll do whatever she needs him to, and he joins the mission. This guy is one of my favourite side characters in any game ever. Or do you consider him a main character? I don't know. The voice actor does an incredible performance. Every moment he's on screen is more captivating even than Monkey. He's obviously a big guy and a big presence, so that helps too. He's really unique looking. He's got this metal thing on his head that also doubles as a pig nose. Maybe that's the reason he got the name Pigsy. I can't see any other reason why he would be called that. Pigsy says that he's been monitoring a ship that nearly grabbed Trip for the past 6 months, and says that they've been grabbing various different parts to build some sort of super mega mech that he calls the Leviathan. Even the fact that he named it that is amazing. This guy's incredible. Trip says they need to wait for the salvagers to come back, then they'll tail him. Pigsy's got a flying vehicle that they can use. But before you do that, you need to go and find a few parts.
We're looking for a distributor, a heatsink, a supercharger, and a power cell. So, this is where we'll find the distributor. You better stay here, Trip. It's a bit of a tricky climb. Man's work. Are you up to it?
Monkey and Pigsy now do a chapter together. And this is the best part of the whole game. I'm sorry to disappoint. The game does not get any better than this. No game does. They go running together along the mechs and they have to do a race to the top. Pigsy's personality shines here. He's competitive. He's a cheater. He's obnoxious. He's selfish. He wants to get his own way. He's bullish. But he's called Pigsy after all. He's not called Friendly. He's not called Mother Teresa-y.
Look at this pig and monkey run. It's ridiculous, but entertaining nonetheless. His run cycle is perpetually falling. He's out here running around like Dr. Eggman. I know Dr. Eggman. He's a good friend of mine. Very successful creator. But that darn blue hedgehog keeps foiling his machines. I know how he feels.
A few times Monkey nearly gets hurt and Pigsy's just trolling him. He does not care. He's laughing in his face. And you get to the top and I was like, no, Pigsy won. Monkey says that he won and Pigsy concedes. Then here at the top they have one of the best exchanges in this whole game. Up to this point it's not really been a humorous game. Very few moments make it funny. But from this point onwards with Pigsy on screen, it's one of the funniest games ever. Pigsy's screen presence is so big, he instantly became one of my favourite characters and you'll see why.
I just need to stop a moment to catch my breath.
They have a little discussion with each other about how they got their names.
So, we haven't been properly introduced. Pigsy.
And I don't know where all of a sudden this overarching tree come from.
Now, Pigsy, how did you pick up a name like that?
But there's so much shade, you'd think that someone opened the world's biggest canopy.
Haven't a clue. How about you? What's your name?
Monkey.
Monkey. Ah, monkey. Yeah. guess that's kind of obvious.
Pigsy helps Monkey get to the bottom with his grapple.
Trip asks who won the race and Pigsy claims he did.
If it was up to me, I'd say Pigsy, but I wouldn't dare tell Monkey he didn't win. You go to a few more locations in the factory to get the rest of the items you need. And now you have a third character, you have a few different levels to the puzzles they offer. Sometimes you'll need Pigsy to throw an explosive, then Monkey will shoot at it, either making an opening, making something drop, or breaking something. Other times he's used to help you get down a platform. At the end of this chapter, Trip has another close encounter. She's ambushed by mechs and this time they grab her. You have to run as fast as you can to catch up with her. It's another one of those times that even though you know she'll be safe, you still relate to Monkey that it's more than just his life is in danger because of she's connected to him, but he actually cares for this person now. At the beginning of the game, I didn't know how to feel about her, because you ultimately feel this person has held you captive.
He doesn't tend to bring it up in conversation anymore. He's not having any outbursts where he throws it in her face to say, "You done this to me, remember? You're the reason my life is worse than it already was, and it was pretty bad before."
But it's so easy to forget about Monkey's headband. You just want to save Trip for the sake of saving Trip, not because it saves you too. When you're in safety, Pigsy decides to approach Monkey and ask him, "Hey, is something happening with you and Trip?" Monkey says, "What, me? No, what, no, what you want about? I'm not the one you should be asked. No. But then Pigsy says, "I know that's my friend's child. I'm gonna do an Adam Levine and slide into her DMs." Monkey tells Pigsy about the situation with the headband. Also the fact that Trip hears everything because of the communication device that they have. And Pigsy's like, "That is cringe." Then he goes up to her and says, "Do you want to go on a date in a swamp somewhere?" And then she basically says, "I wouldn't put a headband on you if my life depended on it." Chapter 11, The Old Battlefield. You're riding the boat and Pigsy turns around and he sees Trip and Monkey are looking really cozy together. From his perspective, it looks like Monkey's arms on her shoulder. And coincidentally, at the same time from his perspective, there's two mechs in the back that looks like it's forming a heart, and he gets jealous by what he's seeing. He abruptly stops the boat, causing them to stumble. In the old factory, there's a shootout, but you have Pigsy helping you with his sniper rifle. I would say he's a good shot, but he didn't help. It's almost like he wants Monkey to die. He doesn't make it a secret. He does want Monkey to die. Pigsy keeps on taking more jabs at Monkey, mocking his hairstyle and other things about him. He can't control his jealousy and his anger towards Monkey because he knows Trip and Monkey are really close and she's got reverse Stockholm syndrome for him. They locate a power cell in the giant mech's hand. Pigsy says, "Go on, go get it. Don't worry, it's fine, go get it, you'll be safe." But obviously he wants Monkey dead, and there's an armadillo there that tries to destroy him. Pigsy said that he just wants to give him a little scare. It's just a little prank, a little pranky prank, a little fun prank. You know how you do pranks with your friends. Some people push their friends downstairs, some people poison their friends for a prank, others send him into a wild arena like Gladiator with a giant armored armadillo. Me personally, I like to set up my friends with medication trials they don't know they're doing. It's pretty funny when a friend of yours grows a monkey tail or a pig nose. After this boss, Monkey then calls out Pigsy saying, "Enough is enough. This girl has just lost her father. Stop trying to hit on her." While they're bickering and Trip's trying to download the schematics to the armadillo, it comes to life with her on top of it. He's able to save her just in time before it crashes into a fuel tanker and explodes. Pigsy's laughing, thinking, "I finally got him killed." He sees that Monkey's rescued her, and coincidentally they look close. Pigsy looks more jealous. They get to Pigsy's flying car and take off. Chapter 12, The Dam. They get as far as they can with this flying vehicle, but get called out by air traffic control. They ask for their landing number, and they obviously don't have one, and Pigsy tries to blag it. Pigsy starts saying it with a 1 at the start, then Monkey's like, "Oh my god, why'd you start at 1? Then he says 2, and Trip's like, "Oh no." But Monkey makes his way to the escape pod first, because he's thinking, "Hell no, I ain't going behind Trip. She loves to use escape pods without me." They all go in the escape pod together, and they make their way to the dam. Here they see the Leviathan in person. Pigsy's got a smug look on his face like, "I knew it." They have to use a submarine to get to it. They locate where a submarine is, and it's right at the back, stored away. And while they're transporting it to the water, Pigsy has a near-death experience and Monkey's needed to save him. Now the tables have turned. Guess what Monkey does? He actually helps him, because we know if that was Pigsy who had Monkey hanging upside down by his belly, he would say, "Oh, what day is it today? Oh, I can't help Monkeys on a Monday." He doesn't even try to hide his saboteurism. This guy would put Monkey in a snuff movie if he could. Chapter 13, Grand Theft. This area has a lot of big gears and fire. Before this point, climbing hasn't really been that dangerous. Where the windmill was, there was a part where you have to be careful when you're climbing, because if you don't time it right, you might get hit by a spinning cog, but it only knocked the wind out of you, it didn't kill you. Here, these cogs can kill you in one hit, so you have to be careful when climbing. With Pigsy's help, you destroy 4 shackles that are attached to the Leviathan. It can be sometimes hard to traverse through this area, so Trip has programmed the dragonfly to guide you. It's like Navi from Zelda Ocarina of Time, only less, "Hello Link, it's me! I'll show you where to go!" Basically, that's Navi in a nutshell. If you were to listen to the internet. She's not actually that bad. They make their way through the Leviathan's power core, and they're all flabbergasted by the amount of power cells that are here. While Trip's trying to boot the system, Monkey has to defend the cores. The combat mechs are trying to destroy this thing. Pigsy makes his way to the control room, and by the time he arrives, they've powered it up. He gets comfortable in the seat. He's very good with computers and technology too, just like Trip, but she doesn't fetishize the fantastic beasts like he does. He outright admits he's becoming smoky bacon just by the size of the equipment, and this machine fits him like a glove. He knows exactly how to use it straight away. Then they use Leviathan to travel to the pyramid.
You know what, pig boy? You can keep that. All that pork scratching sweat and meatloafy juice, oil smearing up all my leather, seeping all of your oozy grime into the gears and leaving the controls forever moistened like seaweed and ham chops. Ugh, I couldn't sell that second hand on eBay, and I definitely ain't getting my refund back from Amazon.
We then cut to Trip and Monkey in the power core. All the power cells are lighting up like stars in the night. Monkey's lying on the floor and they have a heart-to-heart.
I'm not trying to excuse what I've done. I know it was wrong. I have no more right to enslave you than anyone does.
What have you done?
There's nothing controlling you anymore.
So I can just leave.
If that's what you want.
Turn it back on.
But
You heard what I just said. Turn it back on.
Trip turns off the headband, but Monkey forces her to put it back on. Trip reluctantly obliges. It's a very powerful scene because Trip comes to terms with her actions. She's very young, so you could excuse beforehand that she didn't fully understand some of her actions and the consequences, but you can tell she's grown a lot on this journey that seems to have taken place over a long period of time. From what Pigsy said earlier, it seems that 6 months is the amount of time that's passed.
Last ship the nearly grabbed you. It's been coming here to the crater area every day for the past 6 months.
The relationship they have is an abusive one, but one Monkey chooses to keep for his own reason. It's transformed from toxic to dysfunctionally functional, and they both need each other. Maybe Trip is now the enslaved one because he commanded her to turn it back on. He now fully controls her like he did at the start of the game. Chapter 14, Pyramid. The gang are making their way towards Pyramid in Leviathan. This reminds me of those beasts in Zelda Breath of the Wild. This chapter sort of plays that way. You have to climb on this mech that's moving across the desert. You can see Pyramid in the distance, so you know not too long now until your mission is over. This mech is wiping out giant scorpions like it's nothing. So much so that Pigsy is having a whale of a time. They should have called him Whalesy in this chapter. Once Monkey gets to the top, one of the scorpions is able to get through and break the head cannon off of Leviathan. Monkey has to battle this thing all on his own. It's an extremely intense battle that feels like it's never going to end. I both loved it and didn't love it. Every time you feel like you've defeated the boss, there's an extra stage that pops up. It just keeps on going and going, but the payoff is extremely rewarding. And I'm not talking about the rewards like at the beginning of the game, a pain reward. This is a 100% pleasure reward. There's times here where Pigsy will even give Monkey credit for how impressive he's being. Monkey realizes he has to go for broke, and he jumps on top of the scorpion, using its tail to defeat itself. Just when they think they've won, they realize there's many more where that came from. Pigsy asks Trip what will happen if they put all the power from all the weapons into the engine. Trip does not want Pigsy to sacrifice himself. Monkey says, "Oh, are you sure about that? Okay, we're going." Monkey takes Trip and escapes. Pigsy sacrifices himself to save them. Epilogue. They make their way to Pyramid and they see all the slaves that are in mind control. There's thousands if not hundreds of thousands of them. There's an old dusty fella there with wires all in his body. He looks like an old Windows 95 PC. On the screen, Andy Serkis is there. This is the guy that we've been seeing in the hallucinations. He tries to convince Monkey that the best thing to do is leave everything as it is and be a part of the system. Monkey tells Trip to trust him as he tries on the mask. I'm not exactly sure what he sees, but it seems to be a glimpse of everything that's beautiful about the world. Everything positive and happy. From the outside, it looks to Trip that he's being brainwashed, and we cut back to Monkey and he goes from happy and smiling to suddenly distressed like he's seen something really bad. We cut back to Trip and she's breaking all the wires from the back of the old man's back. She's formatting his hard drive. The old man with his last few dying oils is there like, oh, let me just send this last message. He dies. Trip gets to accomplish her mission that she set out, to seek revenge on the person who killed her dad and destroy him. But she questions her own actions. Trip is behaving like Monkey here, acting first and thinking about her actions later. But brute force was essential in this situation. No one should be enslaved. Monkey's headband switches off and so does all the people beneath them. They are no longer under the control of someone else. There will never be another game like Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. The story captures the human spirit in a way you don't see very often. Both people are on survival mode and do whatever it takes, but part of being a human is bonding with someone through struggles and all. You go from the start thinking, how could Trip do this to somebody? While also relating, if you're in her shoes, would you do the same thing? Then halfway through the game, you start feeling sorry for her and empathizing with her decisions. Then towards the end, fully understanding where Monkey's coming from by showing her that I'm with you, turn the headband back on. Your mission is my mission. Your goals are my goals. And he's not doing it with his usual temperament. He's doing it in a calm and chilled, calculated manner. She's grown in her own ways and he's grown too. This game is a remarkable adaptation of one of the most timeless stories ever. And it's still an incredible game that you need to experience for yourself, so you can truly appreciate the ingenuity of this Odyssey.
Born from an egg on a mountain top, the punkiest monkey to ever pop. He knew. Oh God, this guy, he ruined my life. Oh wait, I've got an idea. I can sell all the footage to a network. They'll make a book, a TV show, and a game. But who will play me? Oh, I know. Andy Serkis. He's very talented.